What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and today we're going to be going over some more source control with Perforce and Unreal. We don't have too many more topics to cover because I don't plan on making this an entire in-depth series, but there are some more things that we should cover because if you're using source control, and we should be using source control because of how beneficial it is, then these things are going to help out a lot, and they're going to be really important to know before you get into these situations. That way you know what to do when you get into them. So today specifically, we'll be covering diffing. So basically checking the differences that occurred between certain revisions of a file. You can do it between the latest revision and the revision before it, or any other revision, and it'll show you all the changes that took place. This can help you determine why something went wrong within a certain amount of time, or why something changed, what functionality was put in place to determine or to change that functionality that you had. So that's really important. We should be going over basically going through a change list, finding a certain revision, and then grabbing that. We'll also be talking about the difference between force revision and just get latest or something like that to kind of figure out what the differences are. So let's just kind of step through this. This will be more of a relaxing video. This will be one of the ones where I kind of just do some stuff and show it here, hopefully to demonstrate what the differences are. So for one, let's go over diffing. This is the most important part. This will probably be the bulk of the episode. Like I said, diffing is used to determine the differences between a file and other revisions. So I've gone ahead and added my fighting game template to this project right now. So what we can do is I'll go in and I'll show you. Now if you're not familiar with my fighting game, that's okay. You won't need to do anything with the fighting game to understand today's episode. But this is just another series I do here on YouTube. So if you're interested in checking out, I'll leave an iCard in the top right corner right now. You can go ahead and check out the first episode or the whole playlist of the fighting game tutorial. I got some stuff enabled right now, so it doesn't look necessarily as clean as it could be because I'm working with the hitboxes. But there you go. So you can see I'm playing my game. I got everything working just fine, just how I want it. And at a certain point, I'm like, okay, something's not working the way I want. So here's what we do. Now, I've just added this to this Perforce depot. I had it on other source control before, so everything's at 1 right now. We'll have to make a change and then revert it. Let's do a code file first, because code files are easier for this. So for a code file, if you want to diff something, then what you can do is actually open up your code, which I did not have open. Come in here, and we can make a change to our character. Now, it could be any change. It's not too important if the change is even something that we care about right now or not. We're just using it as an example to diff. So what I will do is add something to somewhere where we know where it's at. So probably in jump here at the end, I'll add let's say can move equals true in jump. Okay? And say I've done this. I've made this change and I've saved it in the code file. Alright, so I've saved it. Now, remember, if you watch the first episode, we have it to where icons will change if the file has changed. So they're distinct icons. We can tell here that the file has changed because it's blue instead of white on the icon here, which means this is different from the original. So first things first, we can actually diff this against the... We can diff against have revision, which will change. It'll look at what changed between now and the revision number that we have. So we haven't submitted anything yet. We're still in revision 1. We just have changes in this file that are different from what the depot has on its revision 1. So we can hit diff against have revision. It will open up this Diff Tool, which is going to be a little bit out of your window. Let me see if I can move it for you. Anyway, there we go. Sorry, it's a little hard because the window capture likes to get caught on everything. Something like that. Alright. So now what you can do is you can either scroll to the top of the file or whatever. It'll automatically bring you to the first difference in the file. And then you can step through using these arrows or just scroll down and see where you see green. It will do a line break where the line changed. So you can see it here as one code statement. At the end of jump, can move is true. That's what we added. But in case you have a lot of changes, this is important. This line that goes all the way across, this is the specific line where this stuff was added. Okay, that's why it goes across right here at that very specific location. Can move equals true. Now we haven't submitted anything yet, so, you know, that's as far as we need to go for now. We were just diffing against the revision, seeing what the differences are. But we can go ahead and submit something if we'd like. So let's make a meaningful change that we actually want to submit. Okay, so for example, a meaningful change would be in begin stun here. If we're setting can move to false, we also should not be able to attack while we are stunned. So what I'm going to do is just put can attack to false and can attack back to true on end stun. Okay, and we can go ahead and say, yeah, these are things that we want to do. Excellent. Now, we go ahead and build our solution, make sure it compiles before we push it. And it built, so we're like, okay, good. Now you should go test this, of course, in Unreal, but since this is just kind of a change we're adding on the spot, it doesn't really matter if it works or not. Now we know that the fighter template character.cpp has been changed, and it's a change that we want. Now you have these other tabs. I think I covered these in the last one. I definitely covered pending. If I didn't cover history, history is just, it'll go to whatever folder that you're at, and it will show you all the revisions in that folder with the revision number, who was submitted by, the time, and the description of the change list. So, like my first one is added fighting game to Perforce, and that's it. It's the only thing I have. Now, technically I don't have this file checked out, and that's okay. Since we don't have exclusive checkout or anything forcing us to check out before we make changes, then it won't cause any issues. If you use the in-editor source control, or if you make it exclusive checkout, then you don't have to check it out before you work on it. You can kind of work on it and then check it out once you know that that's the file you want to work in. Up to you. Just be careful and make sure you are checking it out at some point, especially if you have teammates. If you have teammates that you're working with, then you definitely want to check it out earlier rather than later. That way they know what you're working with. But code files can be merged, so it's not a huge deal. Okay, so now we've diffed this. Say I check this out and say I submit this under the change list. Added can attack logic to stun. We'll say begin stun and end stun. We'll be specific here. Then I'll also go ahead and say for video, because I think it's important to kind of be as specific as you can. And then I hit submit. Great. Now you can see that fighter template character has 2 out of 2. We covered this last time. So now we have all of our change list descriptions here and all of that. Cool. Alright, but what we're doing here is we are checking out changes and then we're submitting them. What if we need to make changes in multiple files for one actual bug fix or feature? We can use something called a change list, which is what it sounds like. It's a list of changes that get put together and put under one change list here. Under one, literally, change list and revision number. Okay, so yeah, we kind of just submitted this file, and that's fine. You can see here's the change list number. So 1 and 2, and that's fine. But what we could do is this. What we can do is create a new change list. If you right click in the pending tab, if for whatever reason you don't have these tabs by default, go to view. You can find history here, pending here. Submitted change list is also good. It'll tell you all the change lists submitted by a given user or on a given time. And then you can find other things as well. Alright, Now, if you're in the pending tab, you can right click and hit new pending change list. And now usually you'll have either some sort of bug information or you'll have a task information that is kind of specified for you that you're supposed to put in so that you can keep track of it on some sort of bug board. We're not going to go over that now, just because it's a little bit more complicated than is necessary, especially for a personal project. But the way this normally works is you'll have some sort of, again, bug or task that you're doing. So right now, fixing issue caused by Ken attack being added to stun function. Something like that. And this basically describes what this change list is going to do. And let's say we needed more than one change here. So sure, I can go ahead and like change this again. Say this was causing an issue. Okay, great. I can remove these and that's good. But let's say there was another issue in the game mode as well. So, excuse me. So let's check out the Fighter template character. And then let's also check out the game mode.cpp. You're like, okay, I got both of these things now. Now they're going to go to default unless you specify beforehand. I usually just check them out and then move them over. I did not mean to open that again. So you can either, select them all here and just move them. You can also right click on them and hit move to another change list and then choose your change list. But either way, now I have multiple files in this change list. So let's say we made a change in the game mode and we're like, yeah, this needs to get in for this change to work. And what did I change? Let's change num rounds to 2 instead of 3. Something like that. So we're like, okay, we have these multiple changes that we need. We can just go ahead and submit these files. Now there's 2 changes in this change list. So every time we change this, and I know this is a little hard to see for you, so I'm going to fix this. There we go. Sorry, all these windows are full-sized, so it's a little confusing. There we go. Alright. Now you can see I'm submitting these 2 files that are getting changed instead of just the 1. And if I go up to the top, I have 3 change lists. I had a 3rd one that I deleted because I was testing something beforehand. So this is actually revision 4, but this would be revision 3 normally. Alright, and now if I go view the submitted change list, I can see all the files that had changed during this change list and see that there were 2. I can now go into this change list, go into the file, and either grab the revision, or I can diff right here. Like, I don't know which one is which because everything is getting blocked off. Here's the game mode. We can diff against the workspace file to see what we have. They're identical, so we know we're on this revision, or game mode has not changed since revision 4. Or we can diff against and then choose a specific revision. This is especially helpful if you have more than 2 revisions. But you can specify revision 1, and then compare it to the workspace version on local disk. We can diff it. And then we can see num rounds was changed 3 to 2. Ah, that's why that issue was popping up. So, great. Now we can diff multiple files, put things into change lists, and add them all to one specific task or bug, and kind of keep track of everything. Because source control is not just about keeping files working and getting them into a working state, but also keeping track of all your changes so you know exactly what to work with and where to look to fix bugs down the line. Now, the one other thing I wanted to show you is how you can go ahead and get a change list. If a bug was reported with a specific change list, for example, say it was reported with change list 2 here, and we're on change list 4. I mean, it's not like bugs are always found as soon as they're put out. Well, if for whatever reason I'm having trouble replicating it or reproducing it on change list 4 or a different change list that I'm on, but it is on change list 2 and we don't think we fixed it, or we can reproduce it on changelist 4, but it's easier to see on 2 because of the changes we've made since then. and we want to make sure we get this resolved, what we can do is go to Changelist 2, Git Revision, and again, the window is a little small. I apologize. It won't let me shrink it because it was already too small. Now you should be able to see that. I'm trying to line it up perfectly for you. This should be big enough. So the way that this Git revision works, you've already seen it, but I'm gonna kind of go over it now because this part it can be really important. So when we call Git revision, normally we were just either specifying the revision or just getting latest. In this case, since we're going from the change list, it's automatically going to specify the revision and the file/folder that we need. Since we're doing the whole stream at revision 2, it's going to just put in the whole stream, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going to also do a forced revision. You can do whatever you want. I would opt to do the force operation most of the time because the force operation means that it's going to make sure all files that you have or don't have are going to be replaced and set to this value. And that's what we want because we want to check revision 2. So remember, revision 2, we didn't change the game mode, and we had added the can attack logic to the stun functions. Okay, so you can see fighter template character right here is not on the latest revision of the file because the only file in this submitted change list was fighter template character. So we're on revision 2 out of 3. If we go to the character, you should see that the can attack logic is back in here. So that worked as intended. We're on revision 2. Now the game mode is still in num rounds 2. Why is that? We just went back to the revision. Well, we went back to the revision of this change list. So we went back to the revision for everything in Changelist 2 and forced it. But there's only one thing. The game mode's not in here. So the game mode did not get reverted. So you do have to be careful with that sort of thing. You may want to actually go and update your other files to match at the time. And there's a very, very nice system to do that, which I'm not going to cover today because it's, again, very much a topic of its own. But there you go. The other thing you can do as well, and this is more for smaller projects because this is kind of a pain, the manual method here. You can look at the times at which things were changed for something like the game mode or some other file you're looking for and see if it matches or is after the time of the change list that you're trying to go to, and then revert to the prior one. That way you know that the game mode is in the correct state that it was for this change list. But again, that's a lot more of a pain. If you catch it early enough, you can do rollbacks and things like that. Again, I think all stuff for another episode. This episode, I just kind of wanted to cover diffing and going over change lists. I know we submitted before, we reverted before, but these two things are equally as important. In fact, I use diffing and change lists more than I do pretty much anything else in Perforce. I usually submit, and if I have issues, you know, in Perforce, then obviously I go and I fix them. I don't just leave them and like, yeah, I'm going to keep pushing. But diffing and using the change list helps me kind of keep my bugs in order. So I know what I'm working on, what progress I have toward it, what changes I've made to fix it. And if another issue pops up because of it, I know why that is too. Or at least I know where to look. And that's what's important here. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. That'll wrap up this episode on source control using Perforce and Unreal Engine. We'll do more of these if you guys like. Every time I get a request for a topic in source control, I just add it to that list, and every so often we cover it. So if you have any other specific things you want me to cover with source control, please let me know. If this video helped you and you learned some either source control techniques or just general debugging techniques, please subscribe. It does more for me and more for the channel than anything else you can do, and it's completely free. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube membership and Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for giving me support and giving this channel support. I love, love, love making videos for you guys, and I'm glad you're enjoying them as well. Thank you so much, guys. If you did have issues with this episode or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There's a link in the description. And lastly, guys, if you want to come support us on Twitch, we're doing programming live streams every Friday. We do one here on the YouTube channel and one on Twitch. If you want to see it on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shawnthebro27. We also play Dark Souls games on Wednesday. So we got a nice variety there. But the programming streams is one I'm really excited about. It just started 2 weeks ago. We're only on episode 2 of making a Super Smash, or excuse me, a side-scroller game kind of based around Super Mario Brothers. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.